Hey friends, welcome to the channel. First of all, congratulations on completing the first lecture, that is lecture 0 of CS50. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can complete the first assignment, that is the assignment of week 0, and submit it properly. So if you have not already watched the video, as in if you don't already know what CS50 is, how to take the course and how to get the free certificate from Harvard University, make sure to watch the introductory video that I made. I'll link that in the description. Make sure to watch that first, complete the lecture, and then come back here. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about the assignment. After you've completed the lecture, that is week 0's lecture of Scratch, we'll come back to this page, that is cs50.harvard.edu/x 2024. If you're watching this video in 25, make sure to change the year. And after you do that, after you're here, make sure to click on week 0, which will take you to this page from where you can watch the lecture. And then once you come down, you'll see this problem set 0. Click there, and then these are the steps for the assignment. Download and install the latest version of Chrome, which I already have. I use a browser called Arc, which is really good. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the comments. Okay, so after you've done this, come to step 2, submit starting from scratch. Once you click there, you will see the requirements. That is, you have to create a project using the Scratch language that we learned in the first lecture. And then we have to, like in the assignment that we submit, we have to have 2 sprites, at least one of which must not be a cat. So we can use 2 or more sprites, but they can all not be cat, right? So we have to have different sprites. Got it? At least 3 scripts, not necessarily 3 per sprite. I have read all of this. If you want, you can pause the video and read this now. So the project that I'm going to show you to build is this game. So this game will have a start button. Once we click on start, we can play the game by pressing the space button. And if our sprite, that is the cat, if it touches any of these arrows or the lines or the red lines on top or bottom, the game will end. And after passing each of these bars, the score up top will increase, right? So this is our game that we're going to create. It is a pretty neat game, I like to think. Anyway, if you want, you can modify it later, but in this video I'm going to show you how I made this game. And if you submit this exact game, you'll get full score, that is 100%. So let me remove this. I'll show you everything from the beginning, that way you'll be able to like follow the steps properly and build it for yourself. So once you're here, you have to go to this site, that is scratch.mit.edu. After you're here, you'll have to first join Scratch in order to create your project and then to submit it. So we'll do that. Join Scratch. Let me create a username. I'll say I'm Calc. I'll hide the password. And after you've done that, click on next. Which country? I'm currently in the US. Next. Where were you born? September 2004. Next. Gender, and then what's your email? Calc. This is not my primary email. Okay, done. Save. Alright, fine. Get started. Okay, once you've done this, confirm your email. So I'll do that. gmail.com. Confirm. Okay, let's go. Done. So my email is confirmed and I'm on this platform. So the very first thing that I have to do, or that you should do, is click on create. And after you do that, this is the page that you'll see. All right. Okay. So after you've done this, first of all, let's just change the background of the sprite, right? So for that, what we will do is we'll come here, we'll click on choose a backdrop, and then let's see which one we like. All right, yeah, we can have this. I think this is fine. You can change anything and everything as per your preference. That is totally all right. Okay, and then we are going to have 2 lines, one at the top and the bottom. For that, we'll come here, choose a sprite, and we'll search for a line. That's a red line, exactly what we wanted. Okay, we'll drag and drop it towards the bottom. Okay, that's great. And then right click, duplicate, and the same line towards the top. Hold on. Okay, that is done. Good. And now the next thing that we want to do is we want to change the sprite. Currently the sprite is in walking position. We want a flying sprite, or we could have any other sprite that we wanted. We could have a bat or something. For now, let's just, okay, there it is, cat flying. This is what we want. I don't want this sprite. That's done. Cat flying. Let's drag and drop it here. Okay, that is good. Let me reduce the size. For that, I'll reduce the size. I'll make it like 40. Oh no, that's too small. 60. All right, great. So currently we have the main editor that you see over here in basically a graph format. So that is, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, right? And we can change the position of our sprite, our flying cat, from here. This is the x. The center would be around here, right? 0, 0. And if we go here, it would be positive x, negative x. Currently we are on negative x. So if I were to make it 0, it would come here, right? But I want it to be somewhere around here. That is best for our app, our game. So let's just say -170 here, and y would be the vertical position. So basically the height. Let's just say somewhere around 60 is, yeah, that's all right. So once we've done this, we want to have a start button, right? So that way, whenever the player, our user clicks on the start button, the game will start. So for that, we'll click on choose a sprite, and then we'll come here. There's a button. You could use any other button if you wanted to. I'll just use this one. After this is here, let me change the position to 0 and then 0 again. Okay, and then I want to write start here, right? So that people all, like, they can know easily that this is the button to start the game. So I'll come here, I'll select this, and then I'll hover over this icon, choose a sprite, and I'll click on paint, right? And that way it will, okay, hold on. All right, okay, I got it wrong. Okay, so we delete the sprite that was created, and we'll come here, we'll click on this particular sprite, that is our button. And then which button do we want? All right, let's just have it orange. I'll delete this one, and over here what I want to do is I want to write something. So I'll click on T, I'll click here, I'll say start, and then I can move it. Okay, start. I can change the font color. I would like it to be white. Okay, I think that's good enough. Let's just make it a little larger so that it is easily readable. Okay, that's done. Good. And then we'll come back to code. As you can see, code, costume, sounds. So we can come to code, and that way the code section will show exactly the code of the sprite that we have clicked on. So if I click on cat flying, it will show the cat here, line here, line, and start button, right? Great. So let's start coding now. So for that, what we will do is we'll click on the start button first, and then we want the game to start from here, right? So for that, the very first thing that we want to do is whenever a user clicks on the green flag, right, we want the game to start, as in this, we want this part to be activated, and after the user clicks on start, the game should begin, right? So the very first thing that we'll do is we'll come to events, and then we'll drag and drop this part when green flag clicked. Whenever that happens, we want there to be a message broadcast. Yeah, we want to broadcast a message which should say reset. So what I'm trying to do is, once the green flag is clicked, I want everything to be reset, as in I want all the sprites to go back to their default position so that the game is ready for me to play. And once that is done, make sure that you are over here, you have clicked on the start button. It should show here, right, on top. And then after that is done, what I want to do is, once this sprite is clicked, as in once the start button is clicked, I want there to be another message. I want to say, okay, first I would like to hide this button, right? And after the button is hidden, hold on, looks, come down, hide. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is, once somebody clicks the button, at first I want the button to hide when the game will begin, and then I want the message, I want a message to be broadcasted, which I want to be start. Alright, so once somebody clicks the start button, I want the button to hide, and then I want to broadcast a message called start. Okay, so once that is done, what I want to do is, once the start message is received, that would be here. Okay, hold on. Alright, so once the reset message is received, I want to make sure that this button comes here, right? Like basically 0 0 to the default position. So that I would do by going to motion. Okay, go to 0 0. So whenever somebody clicks the green flag, the reset message will be broadcasted. And then I want, like, once the reset message is broadcasted, I want the same sprite to receive the message reset, and once it receives the message, I want for it to go in the center, which is basically the default position 0 0, and I want it to show. I want it to be visible, right? Because at some point in the code we are hiding it, right? When the button is clicked, it is being hidden. So what I want to do is, when the reset message is broadcasted, it should show again, right? So once that is done, now let's code for our cat. So our flying cat comes into picture once the start button is clicked, as in once this sprite is clicked, which is the start button, we are hiding it, and then what we are also doing is we are broadcasting the message called start, right? So that is what we are going to use here. So what I want to do is, whenever the message is received, the message, I mean the start message, whenever the start message is received by the flying cat, what we want to do is, we want for it to become visible, right? Currently it's already visible, but we are going to change that later, because once we are starting the game, we want, you know, for it to be like basically blank with a start button and a scorecard, which I'll show you later. So once the start message is clicked, we want for it to become visible, but before that I want to make sure that it is in the correct position, right? Which would be motion, go to -170, 60. It is already populating -170 and 60 because we have filled it up here, right? So that is good. Okay, once it is here, I want for it to become visible because we will hide it later. And then once it is visible, what I want to do is, I want to start a loop, right? And for the loop, what we will do is, in control, we want to start a forever loop, and during that loop, what we are checking for basically is the movement, right? So as in, if we click the space button, if we press the space button, I want the cat to go up, and if we don't do anything, if we don't press any button, the cat should go down, right? So what we will do for that is, we are going to check if then condition, right? If then and else. Okay, cool. So for that, what we will do is, we'll go to sense, and if key is pressed, we want to use that. If the space key is pressed, what do we want to do? We want for the sprite, for the cat, to go up, and that will happen in motion, right? And to do that, what we will do is, okay, change x by 10, we don't want that, we want y, right? We want to change the vertical height, so we want to change the y by maybe 15, and then if we don't do anything, we want for it to go down, which would be like maybe -5. So the error that I made is set y to this. We don't want this. We want it to change y by. Such a silly mistake. Okay, we want to change y by minus 15. Oh no, by default we want it to go up, as in if we click the space button, and if we don't, we want it to go down. Let me remove this. Okay, let's click the start button. We'll click on start, it's going down. If we press the space button, it's going up, right? All right, cool. Okay, and then it just keeps going down. We don't want that to happen. If it touches either of the lines, the red line or the red line on top, we want the game to end in a way, right? Okay, fine. Let's set it to 60. I just checked it from here. We'll change that. We'll make sure that it automatically changes its position, right? So once we've done that, what we are also going to do is, like, we're basically going to check whether or not the cat is touching the lines, the edges, right? And to do that, what we will do is, let's go to all right, okay, so let's go to events, and then when I receive this message, that is our start message, what we want to do is we want to start another forever loop. And inside the forever loop, what we want to do is, if the lines are being touched, we want the game to end, right? We want the game to reset. So for that, what we will do is we'll go to sensing is here, and if it is touching, let's see which one would make sense. All right, okay, so if it is touching the edges, if the cat is touching the edges, I want a message to be broadcasted, which will be reset, correct? Yeah. So start, okay, it's flying, and if I don't do anything, it will go down and a message will reset, right? Okay, so currently what is happening is, once the message is being reset, the start button is appearing, which is great, but we also want the cat to go back to its default position, right? Or basically we want the cat to hide in a way. Okay, so for that, what we will do is, when I receive the message reset, the reset message is being broadcasted. What we want to do is, once the message is received, we want to go to looks, and we want to make sure that the sprite is hidden, and then we also want to make sure that it goes back to its normal position, which would be here. Go to this position, right? So now start, space, we don't do anything, it goes down, and then okay, comes here. If I click on start again, it starts from its default position, right? Once that is done, what we want to do is, we want some lines to pass from the game, like from right to left, and if the flying cat touches those lines, we want the game to be over, right? So for that, what we will do is, we'll use more lines. So click here, and then we'll search for line. Here it is. Okay, so this is line 3, and it's currently in a weird position. That is okay. Anyway, so first of all, we want it to be vertically straight, right? So for that, what we will do is, we'll change the direction. Let's just make it 0 degrees. Okay, once that is done, I want to change its x-axis 300. Okay, that is cool. Okay, so what we want to do is, let's just create a different color for these lines so that it's like very visible. So we'll go to costume over here on the left top corner, and then we'll change the color. For that, what we will do is, we'll click here on the fill color, and then we'll change the color. What color do we want? Let's just make it white, because why not? So once this is done, I want for it to have basically 3 clones, right? 3 costumes. What I mean by that is, I want some of the sprite, like some of those lines that pass from right to left, to be like halfway from the middle to bottom, and then I want some to be halfway from the middle to the top, so that the sprite has to pass from the bottom, and then I want the third one to be like basically have some space in the middle, right? It will make more sense when I show it to you. Okay, cool. So this is our first costume. We want to duplicate it again, and then duplicate it again. Okay, so this is our default costume. We'll click on line 2, and then I will use the eraser tool, and I will erase half of it, as you can see here in the image itself. Let's erase a little more. Okay, I think that's pretty good, or a little more. Okay, so this way, if the sprite passes, like if the sprite touches this line, it's dead, so it has to pass from here. So I'll click on line 2, and similarly I want it to be the rest of the part. Okay, I want for it to have to pass from here, and similarly I want the 4th line to, okay, pay attention to what is happening here. That is like very important. All right, cool. So if you look on the right corner, these are the 3 lines that we are going to use, 3 versions of this line that we're going to use. So line 2, the sprite has to pass from the bottom. If it passes from the top, it's dead, and then it has to pass from the top. If it touches the bottom, it's dead, and similarly it has to pass from the middle. Okay, I think that'll be enough. So let's go back to the code, and then we want this line to, okay, by default we want to select the first line, which is basically like the normal line. The entire line should be visible, and then we want our variations that we just created to be the rest of the 3 lines, right? The rest of the 3 costumes, which is line 2 to line 4, or basically costume 2 to costume 4. So once that is done, what I am going to do is, okay, so we want the game to start. Hold on, I made the mistake again. Make sure to select the first line, right, so that you see the entire line here. And then what we are going to do is, we will listen for the game to start, which will happen here once the user clicks the start button. We want the game to start, that is going to happen, and after that we want the lines to pass basically, right? So for that, what we will do is, we want this first line to remain there, that should be intact. The next thing that we want is, let's go to events first. Once I receive the start message, what I want to do is, I want to create a clone of this line, right? Like once the game starts, what I want to do is, I want to start another forever loop, right? I want to start a forever loop, and once the forever loop is started, I want to make a clone, right? And that should be around here. Okay, create a clone of myself. I want to create a clone, and then I want to create another clone after this current line has passed. So we need to wait for some time, wait until okay, we want there to be some delay. Okay, wait these many seconds. Let's use the second. Let's make it 3.5 seconds. Okay, fine. So we want to create a clone, right? And we want to wait for 3.5 seconds, and then we want to create another clone, right? Okay, so another thing that I want to do is, once I start the clone, once I create the clone, I want to do some other action. I want that clone to pass from here, right? So that will happen by using another, let's see what we can use. Okay, over here in control, we have when I start a clone. When I start a clone, what I want to do is, I want to switch the costume. That is, I don't want the entire line to pass, because if that were the case, there would be no escape basically, and the game would not make sense at all. So once I start the clone, what I want to do is, I want to switch the costume. So that will be in looks definitely, and then change size, switch costume 2, and I want to do it, what I want to do is, that is weird. Okay, I want to basically choose random costumes, and those costumes would be from costume 2 to costume 4, right? So I want there to be a range, and that would be somewhere in operators. Okay, it should be here somewhere. Pick random. Okay, there you go. We want there to be random costumes, and then we want to choose from costumes 2 to costumes 4, right? That makes sense. Great. And then what we want to do is, once the clone is created, we want the clone to pass from here, from right to left, and that would be basically gliding, right? And for that it would be somewhere in motion we want it to pass, and this, okay, cool. So we want to use this one. First we want to change the costume, and then what we want to do is we want to glide it. And how much time do we want to take? We want to take exactly the time that we took over here, right? So that we make sure that the entire thing passes over here, and then we, create another clone. So where do we want it to pass? We want it to pass to, okay, where is it starting? Let's see. It is starting at 240 on the x-axis, so we want to go minus 240 on the x-axis, and y should be 0 again. Okay, and then once it passes through here, what we want to do is we want for it to delete itself, right? Because we don't want everything to come here and stack over here, right? We want it to delete itself once its work is over. And for that, what we will do is we'll go to control, and it should be somewhere here, delete this clone. Okay, so let's see what happens. Start. Okay, it's coming. Okay, so far so good. Okay, it's nice. If it goes down, the game is over, but it doesn't stop. That is weird, right? And similarly, okay, look at this. And even if I touch those lines, nothing happens. We don't want that to happen, right? So first of all, let's make sure that the reset thingy works over here. So I'll stop it. Cool. So, okay. So what we want to do is, once this line receives the reset message, what we want to do is, I want for it to become invisible, right? So that would happen through looks and then hide, right? And then what I also want to do is, let's see what happens right now. It goes here. Okay, now the line doesn't come. That is not good at all. Cool. Okay, so what we want to also do is we want to make sure that once we hide it, we also want to show it when the start message starts. Okay, look at this. This is really weird, right? A lot of things are happening. Okay, we don't want this to happen because it would make the game really weird. Okay, so for that, what we want to do is we want to make sure that everything stops, and for that we would go to control, stop all. And another thing that we want to make sure is this sprite is in its original position when we start, right? So for that, what we will do is we'll go to motion and then go to okay, all right. I think this should fix the error that we had. Start. Okay, one. I think it's going good. Or what we can also do is, like, we can have multiple things passing at once. For that, what we could do is we can make it wait only for like 1.5 seconds. And if I were to do this, okay, start. All right. Okay, I think, all right. So the next thing that we want to do is, if it touches these lines, we want the game to stop, right? We want the game to reset. All right, cool. It is currently working for the lines on top and bottom, but we also want to make sure that if it touches these lines, the game should stop. Okay, so for that, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we are like the flying cat is active over here, you can say, And then what we want to do is, if it is touching the edge, the game is stopping. That's great. But what we also want to have is, we want basically to check if it is touching the line, the game should end then also. So basically we want to have an or condition. If it's touching the edge, the game should end, and if it is touching the lines, the game should end. So for that, what we'll do is, we'll go to sensing, and then if it's touching line, okay, hold on, if it is touching line 3, right? Okay, there we go. This is the line that we are talking about. Line 3 is its name, and if it is touching line 3, we want the game to end, right? But currently we can have only one thing in the if condition, right? Either this or this. So what we can do is, we can go to operators, and we can have and we can use a or operator. So we drag and drop it here in the if condition, if this or this. So if it's touching the edge, the game should, okay, hold on, that is really weird. Okay, let's just drag and drop it here, and then, okay, drag and drop it. All right, so if it's touching the edge, or if it's touching line 3, the game should end. Let's see. Okay, working well. Let's try here. If we hit it, the game is ending. So that is good. Okay, that's nice. So the next thing that we also want to make sure of is, we want to create a score counter, right? So for that, what we will do is, we will create a variable. Let's go to variable, make a variable, and we want the variable to be named, okay, score, okay. And then we want to move this variable. Like if you uncheck this, you won't see the variable here, but if you check it, the variable will become visible. I want to drag and drop it here somewhere, and then what I want to do is, I want to increase the, I want to increase its count every few seconds, and that would be every 1.5 seconds, I guess. Let's see, because whenever this is passing, it's taking about 1.5 to 1.6 seconds to pass, like each of the sprites, and after it's passing, I want to make sure that the score is increased. And to do that, what I want to do is, we will have another control events. Once it receives the start message, what I want to do is, I want to increase the value of the variable, right? Set my variable to this, or change, okay, so change the score variable by 1, right? So it is basically increasing it, right? So let's see. Okay, currently nothing is happening. The score increases and it stays at 1. We don't want that, right? So the thing that we want to do is, we want the score to increase every 1.5 minutes, right? Every 1.5 seconds, and that would happen in control. Wait for these many seconds. 1.5, let's make it 1.6. Okay, so the reason why we are using this logic to wait for 1.6 seconds is because if it dies before 1.6 seconds, the game is already over. But if it's alive, we just want to increase the we just want to increase the score, right? Okay, another thing that we want to make sure of is, we are using the variable, and we want to, when the game starts, we want the variable to start from 0, right? And then we want to wait for 1.6 seconds, and then we want to change the score by 1, right? Okay, cool. But we want this to keep happening, right? Currently it's like, it will only happen once, right? So if I start, let's see. Okay, it's just, see, it goes to 4 and then it stays at 4. We don't want that to happen. We want it to forever keep happening. So for that, what we will do is, we will use a loop, and that will be a forever loop. Okay, cool. So forever, we want to wait for 1.6 seconds, and then we want the score to increase. And currently, as you can see, the score also, like, it increases, but it never goes back to 0. We don't want that. Okay, the reason it was working that way is because we are setting my variable to 0. we want the score to become 0. So start. Okay, the score becomes 0. We play the game. One score, 2 points. Okay, this is good enough. If you submit this assignment, you're good to go. Okay, so after you have created your project or game, the next thing that you want to do is you want to download this file, because later on when you go to submit this project, the problem set 1 or the problem set 0, what you will be asked is you'll be asked to submit the .sb3 file, and that will happen after you download it, right? So the way to download this project is by going to file and then save to your computer. Once you do that, a file is downloaded, and if I go to Finder, okay, flyingcat.sp3, this is the file that I will submit, right? And once you do that, you'll get 100 points. That is your, I know it because I've done it. I did not create this exact game, I created a different one, but you can use this one. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to create videos about all of the week assignments of CS50. And if you want that, make sure that you follow the channel. And of course, like, these videos take a lot of time and effort to make. So if you appreciate the effort, make sure to subscribe, right? And drop a comment down below. It will be highly appreciated. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.